lads, today we're going to be going over the Rank 7 premiums in War Thunder. I'm just going to be going over them in the hangar, so kind of a bit of a lazy video if I do say so myself. I might try and do individual videos on all these planes. I've already done the TRAM, as you probably already know. A lot of people have been asking me to compare them, and this is basically that video. Again, my voice still isn't back to normal, so I do apologise if I sound croaky or sound like I've swallowed a razor blade. It's because I feel like I have. Anyway, so starting with the A6C TRAM. Again, I've already done a video on this a couple of days ago or something. It's battle rating 10.0, which means you do get a lot of... Well, you don't really get up tiers anymore. You kind of just say at 10.0, 10.3 at the max, really. Got a very good loadout, sorry. You can see I use it in my 10.0 American lineup. Very underrated lineup if you have the CCVL, the AGS, and then the new Wolfpack and M1128. You do see a lot of up tiers in this lineup, so if you are trying to play ground realistic, can be a little frustrating, especially against like the 10.7 tanks. But anyway, this tank has got a very balanced loadout. You don't get any internal gun, but you can take a gun pod, the 20mm Colt thing. You see here, this is my ground pound lineup for ground RB. I have two air-to-air missiles. Actually, I don't think this is my right one. I usually take the 3 big boy bombs, 1 missile, and then the gun pod just for a backup. Kind of a balanced loadout. In ground realistic, you don't really find that many. You don't really do that much air-to-air fighting. It is mainly air-to-ground. So I think this is quite a balanced loadout. In terms of air realistic battles, you can take along 4 air-to-air missiles, as well as a bomb on your fuselage hardpoint. Not really that useful though. I tend to go with this loadout for air realistic, 3 AIM-9Ls and a gun pod. It's questionable whether you want to take the 4th AIM-9L. I still find that using a cannon, having a gun on a plane is still pretty much necessary even at top tier. We then move on to copy and paste Thunder with the MiG-21 Laser M. If you're wondering what's unique about this plane, then there's literally nothing. It's just a copy and paste of the MiG-21. If I can find it from here. I think it's the exact same plane. 73. Yeah, it's the exact same plane basically. I think it's got some sort of, the Laser M, I think it's an avionics kit. It's not really that useful in game though, even if it is modelled. Anyway though, it's got good flight characteristics. It's been a little bit left behind, or it's been meta crept in the last couple of years. MiG-21 base used to be one of the best jets in War Thunder. You do get 64 countermeasures, which is nice, but you have no... you might actually... Yeah, you have the R3R semi-active radar homing missiles, but these are absolutely dead compared to something like the AIM-7M and the R27ER, I believe, on the MiG-29. So you're basically using this plane with the 6 R60MKs. You can take the R13M1s as well, but I usually go with the R60MKs. It's quite a good plane, especially if you can survive into the mid part of a match. Not really that good at the start of a game where everyone's jousting with radar missiles. But $70, just copy and paste, no, definitely not. For the Ruskies, we've got the MiG-23ML. This is basically an MLD without the improved turn performance, basically. You got a very powerful engine. As I said, you aren't exactly the best turner, at least compared to the MLD, and especially compared to some of the Chinese jets. What we do have, though, is the same weapons as the MiG-23. So we've got the R-24Ts, which are II-guided missiles. These are quite powerful right now in top tier. You can basically fire them from quite a long way away, and then basically, because the motor dies quite quick, it kind of goes a long way without enemies see it coming. I died to these quite a lot without even knowing I've been locked onto. They're just stealth missiles really. So it is quite powerful, but again, like the MiG-21 in the German tech tree, this plane is a lot stronger in the mid to late part of a game compared to the early part. The early part of War Thunder matches is now basically just F14 and F16 Thunder basically. There's not really any way you can compete against them in this plane. We do also have the R60Ms as a backup, and just to note, we can also take the R74Rs, which are radar, semi-active radar homing, but they're nowhere near as fast or as good as the AIM-7M or the MiG-20, or the, not MiG-27, bloody hell, the R27ER on the MiG-29. So I'd use this in its pure infrared guided missile setup. take the 2 R24Ts and the 4 R60s. This is probably one of the best performing Rank 7 premiums in the game. Again though, for $70 it's not worth it. That's going to be a reoccurring theme throughout this video. We then move on to the Brit Bongs, and no, I do not have a license for this plane. As you can see, it's a test drive, so the police are probably going to break down my door in the next couple of seconds. But anyway, you can see here it is a Rank 7 premium, just like every other plane. We also have the Sea Harrier now at Rank 7. This obviously isn't a premium, but you can put a talisman on it if you order it. And because it's battle rating 10.7, you will likely get down tiered quite a lot. Basically 10.7 is now the sweet spot for RB in my opinion. You playing 10.7 jets, you do get down tiered more than you get up tiered now. It's why the Swedish premium is so powerful at the minute. You basically, well, for this point, I know it's not a Rank 7 premium, but you get 4 AIM-9Ls on a very manoeuvrable platform with 60 countermeasures as well. Kind of a hidden gem in the British tech tree. I've not actually unlocked it yet, but I've played on a test drive a little bit. But anyway, we're getting sidetracked. The F4J is basically the same F4J that's found in the American tech tree here, except the British one doesn't use the 20mm Colt, it uses the M61 minigun. Or the GAL 4, sorry. Basically just a minigun though. Anyway, instead of getting the AIM-7M that's found on the American F4J, we get these Skyflash missiles. They're alright, they're not as good as the AIM-7F or the AIM-7M in my opinion. We also get the AIM-9G, which is basically a longer range, well, it's quite a long range missile. It's not the best maneuvering in the game. It's not as bad as people say, but it's certainly not as good as an AIM-9L. Unlike the American F4J, we do not get the helmet mounted display in this plane. Obviously, it was only experimental on the American one, so we do not get that. There's not really too much to say about this. We don't really have any good ground strike options either. We've got dumbfire rockets and basically just dumb bombs. There's no precision guided bombs for RB that you can use, so there's no GBU-8s, no Mavericks. Don't think Britain used them, but they could be equipped on a Phantom, I believe, especially considering it's an American airframe just bought by Britain. So it's quite good in the late game. Again, the sky flashes are powerful. We do have a very powerful radar in the nose of the plane with pulse Doppler modes. But compared to some of the other Rank 7 premiums, it's not the best, I'm not going to lie. I played a few games in it. Again, if you get to the mid part of the game, you can clap people with these sky flashes. The AIM-9Gs are alright, but not the best. You've still got a very good main gun. It's not got Agile Eagle, so it's not the best turning in the world. It's kind of left behind by the F-16 and the F-14 meta. So yeah, it's not really worth your money again. Okay, so for the bloody hell, I had a stroke. For the Japanese, I hope you didn't buy the T2 earlier last patch, because now we've got a new premium. Arguably though, this plane may be better. Well, this plane doesn't have any flares or countermeasures, which is a very, very big downside. The F4EJ at least does get countermeasures, you get 90 of them. If we take a quick look at the weapons, you can see that we only have the AIM-7Es, which aren't the best, to be honest. They're quite maneuverable, I believe, but they don't have the same range as the AIM-7Fs or the AIM-7Ms now. So in a joust at the start of a match, you aren't really going to be that competitive. And then we have the AIM-9Ps. These are basically the export version of the AIM-9Js. So in my opinion, the loadout of this plane isn't really that good. We can also take along some 20mm gun pods as well, but these will make you very draggy and make you bleed a lot of speed when maneuvering. I've just put these on here for a demonstration really. It's hard for me to even say that this is ever going to be worth it. The missiles are good, but the sky flashes are better on the British premium jet, so if you want a premium Phantom, get the British one. In terms of the Japanese tech tree, the only real good plane they have is the EJ Kai, at least at top tier. These planes don't have any countermeasures, I believe. This plane's alright, but I don't think you get the good Sparrows. You only get the AIM-7Es. This plane as well, not really that competitive. The EJ Kai Phantom is quite good. We now get AIM-9Ls and AIM-7Fs, so it's kind of like a mini F-16. or a big fatter F-16. But anyway, no, that's not the right plane. The best thing about it is probably its camouflage. It's got loads of just right on it for some reason. Anyway, you can take out 4 20mm guns, which is kind of cool. But yeah, not really that useful. Certainly not worth $70. Ni hao, bing cheling. Whatever they say in China, this is the J7D. Similar to the J7E, except it's got a, well, it's basically a MiG-21 copy. The J7E was obviously came after this plane. What we have here is basically a MiG-21 MF airframe, kind of. Same kind of performance, same engine power, that sort of stuff. Let's get back to the right plane, that would help. Except this plane has a mix of missile systems. The Chinese basically used Soviet airframes with more Western leaning missiles. So we can take the PL-2, which is the AIM-9B clone. You really don't want to be using this at top tier. Then also have the PL-5Bs. These are quite long range missiles like the AIM-9Gs. They have a very short burn time, but they get up to very high speed in that few seconds. So you can get a very long range, but the enemy does not get a warning really, unless they see you literally fire it. As soon as that missile engine burns out, the red box goes away from it. So these, like the R-24Ts, are kind of stealth missiles. They do have 30 Gs of maximum overload, but because they are so fast, it does struggle to pull hard in short ranges. So they're not medium range missiles, but they're not like 2 km range missiles, especially if an enemy is maneuvering. If you do want to target very close range targets, then the PL-7s are probably your best bet. These are Magic 1 missiles commonly found in the French tech tree. Obviously they've been renamed for the Chinese designation to the PL-7. They have 35 of maximum overload, but they aren't all aspect like the Magic 2s, they're just the standard Magic 1s, but they are still very, very good in the current meta. Some people like Define, he takes like 2 PL-5Bs and 2 PL-7s, that's up to you. It gives you a nice mix of missile capability. I typically just tend to run it with the PL-5Bs. But again though, in the F-16, F-14 meta, you kind of just have to hide for the first half of the game. I'd climb, I'd fly to the side, climb high, and then come into the match and shoot your PL-5Bs down on top of people. They are very prone to being floored though, that is the only downside of the PL-5Bs, but it's a good plane for China, to be honest. China in many ways, like their tanks, they're very, very good, but not many people can be asked grinding up to them. You can see here I've got like a mash tash of stuff where Gaijin gave me vehicles. I'd still say though that the A5C is probably a better grinder. The only plane that you can grind out exclusively with the J7D is the F-16 MLU at the minute. I'd say that for 99% of plays, the A5C is probably going to be the better choice. Not only does it have the Magic 1, so these are basically PL-7s but a different designation, as you can see, same 35 Gs of overload. But we can also take along a absolute shitload of weapons and bombs at the same time. So you can take off, bomb bases, you can see we do have CCIP. So you can take off with your afterburning engines, bomb a base, get a few thousand RP for that, and then use your 2 magic missiles to try and get a few more kills. This is a far better premium in my opinion than the J7D. Sure, this gets you up to top tier with a $70 paid check, or whatever, $70 bill to get you straight to top tier if you want to fly top tier, but I'd say that the A5C is a lot better. It's also in the 10.0 meta, the golden spot now, so you face big stupid Su-25s and A-10s. You also have 18 flares, not the most in the world, but certainly enough to counter AIM-9Ls, especially if you drop your afterburner. So for the J7D, it's a good plane, but it's largely been power crept on release, and it's certainly not worth your $70. So for the Italians, we have the F-104S TAF, or Turkish Air Force. As you probably know, it is a Turkish F-104. I don't have a test drive of this vehicle, so I can't really show you it in a battle. But basically, it's a ground strike version of an F-104, which I thought was going to suck when I did my dev stream reviews, but apparently I was wrong there. Apparently this plane is actually quite good for grinding. It's obviously incredibly fast, so you can take off from the airfield, drop your bombs on people, or not on people, but on bases, and then take a couple of missiles just for self-defense and maybe get a few kills. And because you are so quick, you typically can get to a bombing base before the enemy jets get to you. So like the Swedish J35XS at 10.7, this also seems to be in the right sweet spot where you've got good missiles, good ability to bomb bases, and because you're so quick, not many jets can actually catch you, especially like the especially planes like the Su-25 and the A-10. They have no chance of ever catching you, so while it's not the best if you get an up tier, up to like the F-16 and the F-14, as I said, it is quite rare to get a up tier now at 10.7, kind of like the old sweet spot. But anyway, Italy at the minute, the only real 2 planes worth playing are these two, the IDS and the ADF. These planes are kind of gimmicky, these planes are kind of gimmicky. Italy kind of stops being good past the G56, and even this has got, well, it used to have like a 30k repair cost now. They might have nerfed it. Anyway, not really worth it at all. The Italian Air Force isn't really that good in my opinion. I don't really see the point of paying for an F-104. There's an F-104 in every bloody tech tree now, including the Italians. You got 2 actually. There's not really much point buying it in my opinion. I didn't even get a test drive of it from Gaijin, so I didn't think it was going to be that good. Again, I was wrong. It is an effective grinder, but for $70 it is a pass from me. On to the French, my favourite nation in the game. And the French get the Mirage F1C 2000. This is basically the same as the Mirage F1C here, I believe, except it has an air-to-air refueling pod. This plane, despite what some content creators have said, is not the best premium in my opinion. First of all, I don't think it actually looks that good. That's quite a shallow interpretation of a plane. I think the 2000 looks nice, but this thing just looks awkward. Anyway, you do have 5 air-to-air missiles, but starting with the biggest weakness in my opinion is the Super 530Fs. You'll see just below the guidance it says signal pulse. This is basically the guidance type. Most missiles in most semi-active radar homing missiles are constant wave, whereas this missile is a pulse. This basically means it's very easy to chaff it, so they never really hit the target unless your enemy is a moron. Just one chaff and your radar will usually lose a lot of the plane. So that is a big weak spot. We then also have the Magic 2 missiles. These are undeniably very good. One of the best missiles in the game. They are all aspect magics with 35 Gs of maximum overload. It's a very good it's a very good missile, but it's let down by its platform. This plane is not a good air-to-air fuselage, really. It's kind of like a dagger. It's meant to go fast in one direction and stay in that direction. It's not really that good for dogfighting. Can we actually put another bomb on our center line here? No, it's too heavy. I guess you can take 5,000 kilos into battle, which is quite good. So kind of like the F-104 TAF, you can use this as like a ground pounder. Kind of rough, really. It's kind of like the Milan. They're only really that good for like rushing a enemy base at the start of a match and then dropping bombs on them. Well, in terms of air-to-air, we do have the great Magic 2s, as I said. In terms of air-to-ground, we only really have rockets and dumb bombs. We don't have any precision-guided weapons like GBUs or laser-guided bombs. Getting a little bit of another letdown for the French. France does seem to get a rough time with it, kind of like the British. Just always getting copy and paste shit, really, that never really is ever competitive. In terms of French top tier, the Mirage 2000 C and D are very, very good. I've got a video coming on. Well, the video should be out actually when you guys see this. This plane used to be very good, but now it doesn't have any flares, so it kind of gets shat on by AIM-9Ls. The Mirage 3, it's got flares, but it's a lot heavier than the C version, so its performance is a little bit worse. This thing has always been shit. The 2000, obviously very good. You just don't have 4 air-to-air missile. Well, you can't take along 4 Magic 2s. Like, you have to use the 530Ds. Anyway, sidetracked again. This plane, best plane in the game for CAS in my opinion. Super, super fast. French ground forces very good as well, as much as it pains me to say it as a Brit. We then move on to the Swedish, and we have the J35XS. I have also done a video on this plane. Again, it's at the 10.7 sweet spot, so you do get a lot of down tiers. A lot of controversy at the minute because it's the same battle rating as the 35D. This has 2 less missiles and no countermeasures, whereas this has 6 missiles and 12 countermeasures. Those 12 countermeasures don't sound a lot, but they do make a lot of difference, especially against AIM-9Ls and A-10s, where they can shoot you frontal aspect, one pop of the flare and that missile loses track. So it does make you a lot more survivable than the J35D. So basically pay to win, but it's the first time that Sweden's actually got a good premium, so I'm willing to let it slide. You can see here that we can take 6 RB24Js. These are just AIM-9J clones. They don't have the best performance in the world at the minute, especially compared to how they used to be on the F4E. They are still good missiles though. They're more medium range now than close range. The one arguable downside of this plane is that you lose one gun. You can see we only have one 30mm gun here in the wing route, whereas we used to have one here, but now it's gone. I don't know why they had to get rid of one, probably for weight concerns. We do also have a more advanced radar, as well as an infrared IRST, infrared search and track. Not really useful because we have no semi-active radar homing missiles, but it is good to slave the air-to-air missiles too. Swedish Air Force, as you can see, the J37D is quite good. Probably the biggest downside of the Swedish Tetri is they don't really have that good close air support weapons. These are very powerful, but you can't really aim them that well. There's no targeting pod or anything like that. So in terms of standoff capability, you don't really have any in the Swedish Air Force. You also obviously have the helicopters, but they're a bit slow targets and quite vulnerable at the minute. But for grinding out the Swedish Tetri, I'd say it is well worth it. It's a very good playstyle, especially now we have the MiG-21 base and the VIG and stuff. Nice little blend of capabilities, still not as good as the F-16 or the F-14. Personally, this has been my favourite premium from the update, probably this and the TRAM, mainly just for its ground strike capabilities, this for its air-to-air capabilities. Again, I've done a video on this where I got quite a few meme kills. I like this plane. Wouldn't say it's worth $70 though, but it's probably one of the better rank 7 premiums. Finally, we have the Israeli Tetri, and we have the Kfir Canard. This is basically a Kfir C1, so it's less advanced than the C2 event vehicle that we got quite a while ago, and the Kfir C7. Again, I got given this plane a long time ago. I'm not a hacker or anything like that. So the Kfir Canard, it's not as good as the Tetri Kfir C7 obviously, so it's copy and paste but losing a lot of capabilities. And it's basically a bomb truck like the Mirage and the French Tetri. This thing doesn't really have any air-to-air performance. You do get AIM-9G, so good medium range missiles, but you only get 2 of them. The performance of the plane, it's okay. We've got 36 countermeasures, not the best in the world, but it is workable. We have 2 30mm guns as well. Again, not really that good in top tier ground battles where a lot of the dogfights are quite high speed. Again, like the French Mirage, this thing is just a bomb truck. Take off, fly to an enemy base, drop bombs, go home, or try and dogfight, get a few kills. It's a proper grinding plane in the very sense of the word. You aren't exactly going to be having fun with this plane. You just take off, bomb base, and then repeat. Basically the same play style as the A4E, so I don't really know why you wouldn't get this instead of the Canard. Unless they add more capabilities to this thing in the future, then maybe it'll be worth it, but I have to review this plane based on how it is now, not what it could be. And I'd say that the A4E is probably a little bit better, especially when we consider that this plane can do pretty much everything. If we come here and see these are 3 precision guided bombs, 2 walleyes and a GBU-8, 2,000 pound bomb. So in ground realistic battles, this is a much better plane for CAS. You also have missiles. They're not the best in the world, but they're still usable. And then if you want to do a little bit of base bombing and grinding, basically what you'll have to do with the Kfir Canard, you can also take 5 1,000 pounder bombs, which is enough to destroy a base. And you still get 2 air-to-air missiles as well as 2 30mm guns in the wing roots. So I'd have to say that the A4E is probably a much better plane in terms of value for money. This is $60, this is $70, and you don't really lose any capabilities between the two. In fact, the A4E has the ability for precision guided strike, which in my opinion makes it a little bit of a better all-rounder. It's also 8.3, so you do miss a lot of the AIM-9L cancer, and you also have 60 countermeasures as well. So this is in a very, very good spot at the minute, the A4E. Not many people have been playing it, but it is very, very good. You go up a lot of planes like the MiG-19, which don't have countermeasures, and while they can basically walk all over you in terms of kinematic performance, you kind of just fly low and fast, and you kind of just blend into the background, and you can get quite a lot of games grinding with this thing just by staying low and fast and bombing bases. Hey lads, I hope you enjoyed this video. I know it was very low effort and not really high quality production, but hopefully you did find it at least somewhat enjoyable and knowledgeable. Hopefully I'm going to have more exciting content soon. I hope you've liked my more recent introductions. I do really like making creative stuff like that. That is my passion. So I'm going to try and do a bit more meme videos and like color editing and DaVinci Resolve stuff, because that is what I enjoy. I enjoy like just being a little bit creative. Again, I know this is a very low effort video, certainly not the hardest production quality in the world, but again, I do hope you enjoy it. If you did enjoy it, please do consider leaving a like and subscribing. Hopefully the channel does grow a bit this year. We kind of didn't have the best growth last year, but I wasn't really putting 100% effort into it. I was a little bit depressed, and still am depressed to be honest, but we all have to get on with life. So anyway, this point is super sexy by the way, sidetracked again. But anyway lads, I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next video.